Thank you. That was the completion of States 89. The state would ask to publish States Exhibit number 90.
Right.
Mr. Monaco, is this a continuation from the last video?
I guess so, yes.
Okay. And as you see her, is Ms. Schenecker apparently still filling out the form?
Object calls for speculation for the witness.
I'm going to sustain that. Next question.
What is she doing with her hand and a pen near the paper?
It's filling out the form, the rest of it.
Have you just removed a gun from the gun case and handed it to her?
Yes.
Do you recall what model that was? Or
She was looking at a Smith & Wesson. It's a stub nose. It's, I don't remember the exact number of the model.
Okay. I'll show you.
Okay.
What are you doing now, if you can recall?
I could be possibly turning the laser on. I don't remember exactly.
Are you demonstrating or explaining some facet of the weapon to us?
Yes, you know, how the laser goes on and stuff, how the cylinder opens, things like that.
During this time, is she asking questions about the weapon?
I think so. Customers usually ask questions on finish and style of the weapon and things like that.
What has she placed on the counter?
A pocketbook, apparently.
The larger item is pocketbook. Is that also a purse?
Purse, yes.
Okay. All right. What color is it?
Tan.
What is the blue item that you pulled out?
That's usually the box. Go back and get the box that goes with that weapon and show her what things come with it.
And what is the black item in your hand?
I can't really tell. Could be the weapon.
Did she buy ammunition on that day?
I believe so. Yeah, that was the...
Is there any type of log book that's kept at the lock and load?
Yes, there is.
And does the customer have to fill out anything on that?
No. The customer only fills out that one form, and then Jerry does the rest.
I see. Have you removed your personal firearm from your side?
Yes.
What are you doing with it, sir?
I'm probably showing it a difference in size or function, mechanical difference.
And during this whole time we're watching, is there conversation between the two of you?
Yes.
And have you been around guns and gun owners all your life?
Yes, sir.
Did Mrs. Schenecker appear to have any familiarity with guns?
The judge calls for speculation for the witness.
May I approach?
Yes, sir.
Stop, please. Sir, did it appear that to you from her handling of the weapon that Mrs. Schenecker had a familiarity with rough weapons?
She seemed comfortable with weapons.
Okay, that's completed that one. Before we move on to the next one, let me ask you a few questions, sir. State's Exhibit number 87. You recognize that as a copy of the form filled out by Mrs. Schenecker?
Yes.
Got to do State's Exhibit number 87 in that one.
No objection, Judge.
Proceed without objection.
Let me show you what's in evidence in State's Exhibit number 36A. Is this a Smith & Wesson bodyguard box in blue in color, frequently used by used to contain items sold by lock and load?
Yes.
And does that appear to be similar to the one that you had with Mrs. Schenecker?
Yes.
Showing you what's in evidence in State's Exhibit number 36B. Sir, do you recognize can you describe what that is first?
That's a pouch that the gun is carried in. It possibly came with that model.
Okay, thank you, sir. May I publish Exhibit 90? Or I'm sorry, that was 90, 91.
You may.
Thank you. For the purpose of the written record, sir, does this appear to be a continuation of the same transaction, you behind the counter, Mrs. Schenecker in front?
Yes, it does.
Can you describe for the record what Mr. Tanzo is doing?
He's probably going over the paperwork, the bill.
Object again, calls for speculation of the witness.
Sustain your next question.
What machine is Mr. Tanzo in front of now?
That's the cash register.
Okay. Was in January 2011, was there a specific credit card machine
I don't quite understand.
to run the credit card through? Was there a little...
Yeah, there should be, yes.
Stopping the video at 2:02. Can you see that from your distance?
Yes.
Okay. Is Ms. Schenecker smiling at the camera?
I can't really tell from this distance.
All right. All right, continue playing, please. In January of 2011, was there any waiting period that was required by law between
Yes.
purchase and pickup of a gun?
Yes.
And what was that
Three-
waiting period?
3 days,
Was that 3 calendar days or 3 working days?
3 working days.
This was Saturday, January 22nd. When would the first working day be counted?
Monday.
So when was Ms. Schenecker told she could pick up the gun?
Approximately Thursday.
Okay. And what has Ms. Schenecker done prior to turning and walking out the door?
Shook hands and said goodbye.
Shook hands with whom?
Both of us.
Okay, we can stop the video. That's the end of that. Thank you. If you'll give me that one. Now, during whatever aggregate time was involved through the course of these 3 videos, were there periods of time when you had conversation with Mrs. Schenecker from a counter's distance away, a couple feet?
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever notice anything distorted in her speech?
No.
Did you ever notice anything distorted in her expression of her thoughts?
No.
Did the question Sir, during the course of the time you've been helping out Mr. Tanzo, have you served a number of customers?
Yes.
Was there anything odd or unusual, given your experience, in your transaction and your communication with Ms. Schenecker on January 22nd of 2011?
No.
For the purpose of the written record, sir, does this appear to be a continuation of the same transaction, you behind the counter, Mrs. Schenecker in front?
Yes, it does.
Can you describe for the record what Mr. Tanzo is doing?
He's probably going over the paperwork, the bill.
Object again, calls for speculation of the witness.
So sustain your next question.
What machine is Mr. Tanzo in front of now?
That's the cash register.
Okay. Was in January 2011, was there a specific credit card machine
I don't quite understand.
to run the credit card through? Was there a little...
Yeah, there should be, yes.
Stopping the video at 2:02. Can you see that from your distance?
Yes.
Okay. Is Ms. Schenecker smiling at the camera?
I can't really tell from this distance.
All right. All right, continue playing, please. In January of 2011, was there any waiting period that was required by law between
Yes.
purchase and the pickup of a gun?
Yes.
And what was that waiting period?
3 days,
Was that 3 calendar days or 3 working days?
3 working days.
Now, this was Saturday, January 22nd. When would the first working day be counted?
Monday.
So when was Ms. Schenecker told she could pick up the gun?
Approximately Thursday.
Okay. And what has Ms. Schenecker done prior to turning and walking out the door?
Shook hands and said goodbye.
Shook hands with whom?
Both of us.
Okay, we can stop the video. That's the end of that. Thank you. If you'll give me that. Now, during whatever aggregate time was involved through the course of these 3 videos, were there periods of time when you had conversation with Mrs. Schenecker from a counter's distance away, a couple feet.
Yes.
Did you ever notice anything distorted in her speech?
No.
Did you ever notice anything distorted in her expression of her thoughts?
No.
Did the questions that she asked, were they expressed in a manner in which you could understand them?
Definitely, yes.
Okay. Was there anything that struck you odd about the conversation or interaction you had with Ms. Schenecker on January 22nd of 2011?
No.
Mr. Approach.
You can approach.
Sir, during the course of the time you've been helping out Mr. Tanzo, have you served a number of customers?
Yes.
Was there anything odd or unusual, given your experience, in your transaction and your communication with Ms. Schenecker on January 22nd of 2011?
No.
During your conversation with Ms. Schenecker, did she ever display any emotion that of any sort?
No.
Was there ever any tears that you saw well up in her eyes?
No.
Okay. How would you describe your interaction with Ms. Schenecker on that day?
A normal sale.
Thank you. Nothing further, Mr. Monaco.
You're cross-examined, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon to you, too.
So, Mr. Monaco, you helped out at Mr. Tanso's business back in January of 2011 on at least somewhat a semi-regular basis,
Yes.
and you developed a knowledge of the way that he wanted his business to be run in terms of how you would approach customers or what you would say to the customers.
Yes.
And certainly you would couple that with your own knowledge of firearms, as you told us earlier in your testimony. You're a longtime firearm person, you know a lot about them, you have interest in them, correct?
Yes.
So you would help out, and you would actually take the position of handling the counter for Mr. Tanso from time to time,
Yes.
just as it appears that you did from the video that we just looked at
Yes.
in this situation. Now, I think you mentioned that you were saying certain things. Now, I want to get to the bottom of that with some degree of clarity. It's about 3.5 years ago. I take it you don't remember any specific language that you said or that was said to you, correct?
That could be assumed, yes.
Now, I will ask you this, and let me put it this way so that you can respond to this. You probably have a memory of how you handle a sale, correct? The
Yes.
things that you would normally say?
Yes.
And so if you look at a video and you see yourself leaning over the counter, obviously you can see if you're showing somebody a firearm. That kind of thing is visual.
Yes.
But as far as what you were saying, you don't know specifically what you said, but you might have an idea what you typically would say in a sales situation. Would that be an accurate way of putting it?
Yes.
So if I was to ask you, or if we were looking at that video again and we broke it down and we said, stop right now, and I would say to you, Mr. Monaco, can you remember what it is that you were saying at that point? I take it the answer would be you couldn't remember.
Yes.
And I would say the reverse would be true too. If I asked you, well, what was the customer saying to you at that time? You couldn't tell me that either, right?
Yes.
So as far as any kind of memory of conversation, I take it that your testimony today isn't designed to tell the members of the jury that you remember conversation. Would that be accurate?
Yes.
Okay. One of the things that we saw on the video was that some papers were put down. I think you've actually looked at it. And this ATF form, this is the one that you're familiar with, correct?
Yes.
I don't know what you call it. I think you've mentioned that you may not know the exact name of it, but this is the form that you were talking about?
ATF form.
Okay. And so that's one that had to be completed by a customer in every situation, whether it could be a sale?
Yes.
Okay, so when you see, for example, in the video, that you walk up to the counter in front of a prospective customer and place this paper down, you know that that's what the paper is going to be, right?
Yes.
Again, you don't remember specifically what was said at that time, but you know that's kind of what's going on, right?
I know what was said. I put the paper down and said, fill out the form.
Okay, you don't fill out the form for the customer, right?
No, you don't.
There's some portion, I take it, that the business fills out, but the bulk of this form has to be done by the customer, correct?
Yes.
And that, in fact, that's the law.
Yes.
Okay.
We cannot help them with the form at all.
I got you. Thank you. You showed Ms. Schenecker, at least as it was portrayed in this video, more than one firearm. You showed her multiple firearms, typical to what a customer might say, hey, I want to get a gun, and you show them guns?
Yes, I usually ask them what type of gun they want, and then I show them different models and makes of that gun.
In this situation, having your memory refreshed a little bit by looking at the video, can you put a finger on how many guns you showed Ms. Schenecker that day?
I could have shown her 3, and I could have showed her the same one a couple of times.
So it's not clear exactly?
You're right.
Okay. And if you did show multiple guns, I think that they may have been within the same type of gun.
Yes.
In other words, somebody that comes in and says, I'd like to get a pistol, you're not going to show them a rifle.
Right.
Okay, so whatever you did show her that day was within the class of what it was that she initially had spoken about.
Yes.
Okay, and with respect to that, you're unable to shed any more light on exactly how many guns you showed, or exactly, I take it if I asked you the prices, you couldn't tell me exactly what the prices were or anything like that?
The manufacturers have different prices. The type guns she was looking at were all similar, stub-nose revolvers, and that's all I could say. Now, I could have taken the same one out a couple of times, put it back, had some other conversation, and then something comes up and she wants to see it again. I take the same gun out or whatever.
I got you. And so your memory, and again, I know that we're asking you to go back a little ways, and if you can, that's great, and if you can't, I appreciate you would tell us. But your memory is that Ms. Schenecker came in and said, I'd like to get a revolver or some kind of a pistol. Is that accurate?
She said she'd like to get a weapon.
A weapon.
Right.
And do you have any memory, specific memory of whether that was refined at all? In other words, from weapon, did it ever get to a specific kind of weapon?
She wanted to get something for self-defense is what she told me.
Okay, now at that point, does the salesman in you kick in and you start showing
No,
weapons
you
that think are-
categorize the customer first and ask them what they're familiar with. Are they familiar with automatics or revolver? Do they have experience? And things like that. Then you can direct them to the right weapon that they need.
Okay, and you think that's what went on in this situation, right?
Yes.
And again, you're not remembering specific language, but you are remembering that that's what you would do in that situation.
Yes.
If you were there at Mr. Tanso's business tomorrow and a customer came in, that's how you would handle it, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's what you were pretty sure that that's what you did in this situation?
Yes.
And I guess, do you have a specific memory of a specific request for a specific firearm being made by Ms. Schenecker?
No.
There was some appearance on the video that I could tell that where you were showing different things. And I think at one point, for example, I think there was a blue box. What's in the blue box? Is that how the gun is housed or packaged?
The gun is shipped from the manufacturer that way, and usually when you sell a gun, when the sale is finalized or getting near there, you go back, bring out the box, serial number matches. You tell the person what they get with that gun, a cleaning kit, a manual, an accessory, the manufacturer might throw in extra grips, a holster, or something as a promotional thing, and you explain to them that's what they're buying.
Ammunition does not come with a gun, correct?
No.
That has to be a separate purchase by the customer?
Yes.
In a situation where a customer comes to you and wishes to buy a gun and you eventually decide on something, you help them and they decide on something, the ammunition, is that something that you suggest as the person that has knowledge about the guns, where you say, okay, this is the kind of ammunition that goes with this firearm?
Yes.
Now, and again, I know that we're going back 3.5 years, so I want to ask you that question again, but absent specific memory of any specific language between you and this particular customer, Ms. Schenecker, would you take it that you suggested the appropriate ammunition just by the way you would normally do business?
She probably asked me what kind of ammunition would go with this gun. That's what most customers do. They'll ask, what's the proper ammunition to put in? I would say, what are you using the gun for? And I would direct them to the right ammunition for that gun.
And that's what you think happened in this situation?
Yes.
And again, absent the specific language, that's what you think would be the way you would handle the situation?
Yes.
So you don't have any specific memory of a specific request, just the same question I asked you, but shift from a firearm to ammunition. You don't have any memory of specific request made by this specific customer regarding specific ammunition that they wanted to buy?
No, not she didn't come in and ask for a brand or anything like that, or any type of ammunition.
Okay. Judge, could I have a moment?
Yes, sir.
One other question, Mr. Monaco. Do you handle these papers at all? Is there some specific way that you file them with your business? Would that be Mr. Tanzo?
Yeah, I take it from the counter to his desk. He calls in the ATF.
Okay, and you don't have any other dealings with this, other than presenting it to the prospective customer initially to have them sign it or fill it out?
Fill it out.
Thank you, sir. I have no other questions, Judge.
Redirect, Counsel.
Thank you. Mr. Monaco, did you see news reports of the defendant's arrest?
Yes, I did.
And at that time, that you saw that, did you realize it was the same person that you had sold the gun to a few days later?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Nothing further.
May this witness be excused?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Judge.
Sir, you may step down and you're free to go.
Thank you.